For last year. No. Not yet. Oh, yeah.
Good evening and welcome to the October 20th, 2025 council meeting. All members of council are present. This meeting is being held in person. It's also being live streamed on Facebook. I'd like to acknowledge the members of the public that are present and listening online. We appreciate the diverse population that we have living in Middleton. First order of business is the approval of the agenda.
Move the approval of the agenda as circulated.
I'd like to add an item to the, under new business to discuss the joint advisory board meeting.
So we need business. What's it?
6.6.
You already had a motion on
Oh,
Can you make a move?
it, but it didn't get seconded.
it didn't get seconded. No,
Okay,
no.
it didn't get seconded, so we have a motion from the counselor to amend the agenda by adding 6.6 joint police advisory board. So that means it's considered and then a vote.
Do I have a seconder?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye. Thank you.
Item 3.1 is presentation.
I think now we have to approve the amendment, or we have approved it as is.
We approved it as amended.
Yeah.
Yeah.
3.1 Property Valuation Services Corporation, PVSD, with Mr. Paul Beasley and Tracy. I don't know your last name, so.
We'll
you
put
go
it up
ahead.
on the screen. Thank you, your worship. It's a
You're
pleasure to be here, and it was a spectacular drive down through the valley from Windsor here on the way here. The sun was out and the leaves were beautiful, as it always in the Valley, of course. I'm Paul Beasley. Some of you I know. I've known Dan for a long time. And I've seen several of you at the NSFM conference, and I hope to see you there again in a couple of weeks. I guess I've been with PVSC for 10 years. I'm the municipal account manager now. I guess the unique perspective, or I think it's unique anyways, is that I was actually an elected municipal official for 12 years, similar to yourself. And I was mayor of the town of Windsor for 8 years. So I hope that brings something good towards the idea of being municipal account manager. I'm gonna let Tracy and I started at about the same time with PVSC. Tracy, you wanna introduce yourself?
So, my name is Tracy Brisby. I actually live here in the town of Middleton, so I've seen some of you around town, and I've been with PVSC, just probably over 10 years now. I mainly work on the condos, but kind of a little of everything, of course, as well.
Tracy's actually our lead expert on condos around the province, and it just shows that we at PVSC infiltrate all over the province. Go ahead, Sarah, next slide. So we'll talk a little bit about PVSC, and I know I've got about 15-20 minutes here. We'll talk a little bit mass appraisal reassessment. Some of this may be a refresher for a few of you. Key data sources, the Middleton market trends, programs we administer, and then assessment insights, and then we'll open it up to questions. But if you have questions along the way, your worship, I'd be glad to answer them. And go ahead, Sarah. So we're created under the Property Valuation Service Corporation Act. That was in around 2000, somewhere around there, 2003, 2004. And our legislation is the Nova Scotia Assessment Act. Yours is the Municipal Government Act. Ours is the Nova Scotia Assessment Act. We deliver assessments to all 49 municipalities, about 650,000 properties around the province. We're municipally funded by all 49 municipalities. We're governed by a board of directors. Joseph Feeney, the deputy mayor of Mahone Bay, is the chair of PVSC. He has been for the last 2 years. We have 2 other municipal representatives on the board, as well as some independent, outside, like private, independent, well, I guess professionals. And also we have some of the UNSM board members and some municipal officials on, or some municipal staffers on there as well. We have about 135 employees, and we live and play in 60 communities around the province, Middleton being one of them. Windsor for myself. Next slide, sir. So what we do and what we don't do, just to differentiate a little bit from yourself and the land registry, but we deliver the roll. That's our main mandate to the municipalities, all 49 municipalities by December 31st every year. We deliver the notices to all 650,000 property owners, and we administer the capped assessment program and the seasonal tourist business designation program on behalf of the province of Nova Scotia. What we don't do is we don't set tax rates, we don't collect any taxes, we don't create any tax policy. And we don't provide tax relief. That's all within your purview under the Municipal Government Act and of course the provinces as well. We do have a lot of discussions with the municipalities about relief for like wildfires and things such as that, which have been going on in Annapolis and of course Kings County. Fortunately, we got some rain. We do not determine land ownership. The land registry, it determines the land ownership. They're the ones that have the surveyors and the experts in mapping and so on and so forth. So they tell us who owns property and what the property is or where it is. They assign an AAN, an assessment account number. They assign a PID, a property identification number. They tell us, they send it to us. We put it in our system. A lot of people think that we're responsible for determining ownership. So they'll contact us to say, who owns this property? Well, here's what we have. And they say, it's not right. Well, okay, you're gonna have to go to the registry in order to get that corrected then, or we can send a note to the registry and ask them to correct it on your behalf, that type of thing, so. Next slide there, sir. So products and services that we provide, we do the assessment role every year, assessment data and reports. We provide that to municipalities as they need it. We are there if you need any insights on the data that we provide you. We try to be there and available to provide whatever information you need on how assessment works. There's value added services that we provide as well, you know, such as single address initiative and PDX, which is permit data exchange. You have access to experts at PBSC's service desk, and we handle about 2,500 municipal inquiries so far this year. Probably be, you know, over 3,000 by the time the year ends. And we have a dedicated support team, training and education. Some of you have probably tuned in, or at least some of the staff may have tuned in to some of our monthly training sessions that we put on. And you have access to our system and support. And we restructured so that you would have access to that team. We have a specific client services team now, of which I'm part of, and we have two colleagues at the service desk at PVSC service desk as well. So that's what we do, is we look at the simple inquiries that are coming in and help service municipalities. Next slide, sir. So talk a little bit about mass appraisal and reassessment. I won't get into it too deep. It can be a little hard on the brain. So go ahead, Sarah, we'll go through that. In Nova Scotia, under the Assessment Act, we're required to assess properties at market value. So market value being described or defined as the amount in which, in the opinion of the assessor, would be paid if the property was sold on a date prescribed by the director in the open market by a willing seller to a willing buyer. I'll talk about that date that's prescribed here in a minute, but essentially it has to be an arm's length market transaction, independent, no undue influence, before we will use it in our analysis and in our review process. We'll only look at that sales data related to those market value or market transactions. If we don't consider it a market transaction, we won't use it in our data. Tax sales, bank sales, family sales, quite often are not transacted at market value because of the influences and you know, they're not arm's length. But some could be, but typically they're not. Also, the assessment that you receive, the roll shall be the assessment that reflects the state of the property as it existed on the first day of December, immediately preceding the filing of the roll. So we're gonna file the roll December the 31st. We're gonna send out notices January 15th or so. The state of the property, the physical condition of that property, right up to December the 1st. The month before we file the roll on December 31st, that's what we're trying to capture. So if you've got permits out there, our assessors are out there, they're out there now, gathering up permits. It's the busiest time of year for us because all the assessors are out gathering up building information. Physical attributes of the property, and we'll get it as close as we can by December the 1st, so that those attributes are reflected on the roll. Next slide. So the important dates, the date prescribed for the market value date is January 1st, 1 year prior. So we're looking backwards 1 year. We're not looking forward, we're not speculating, we're looking backwards 1 year. So we're looking at sales that occurred from 1 year ago to 2 years ago. Those are the market sales that we're analyzing. So we bring that forward 1 year after we analyze them, do our statistical testing, we'll bring that forward to create the roll 1 year later. So the state date, the physical characteristics, December 1st, I just spoke to you about. And as I mentioned, we deliver the notices every January, then every property owner has the right to appeal within 31 days of receiving or 31 days of the mailing of the notice, not the receipt of the notice, it's the mailing of the notice. Next slide. So mass appraisal, as I mentioned, the main thing here is we do not set the market, we reflect it. We look at sales that occurred a year to 2 years ago. So the market tells us which way market values are going, what way the assessment roll should be moving. But it's a process of valuing a group of properties as of a given date, which is at base date of January 1st, 1 year before, using common data, standard methods, and statistical testing. So we're looking at neighborhoods. We're looking at groupings of properties in a neighborhood. So to put it simply, if we're looking at Middleton, and if Middleton has 6 or 7 neighborhoods in it, we're looking for sales in the neighborhood or in similar neighborhoods so that we get homogeneous properties selling. And if we have 10, 12, 13, 14, 15 sales that occur that tell us these types of properties should, you know, the market value is this, that's where we're heading. We're heading towards that market value that the data tells us. And we do it over the entire neighborhood. We don't just change properties that sold, we change all the properties in the neighborhood to reflect the change in market value. Next slide, Sarah. So there's 3 approaches we use. These are international standard approaches, very common in the industry. Sales comparison, which is the preferred method, which you know, I spoke about already, where we look at market value of sales that occurred and determine, that's what we use as the data to determine the values of properties in the area. The income approach is used for those properties that transact based on the income they generate. So typically, those that are buying the properties are looking at the cash flow and the income they generate. I know Dan knows all about this stuff. But essentially, if you're looking at apartment buildings, if you're looking at retail malls, like strip malls, if you're looking at office buildings, hotels, motels, those types of things, they transact based on the cash that they generate. And so we look at that, we collect data as far as the income and expense statements from the businesses that we value on those approaches. And the cost approach is typically used for those properties that are a little bit more unique, that are don't transact that often, like industrial warehouses and things such as that, whereby you don't get a whole lot of sales data, so you have to value them. And cost is probably the industry standard for doing those if you don't have enough sales. If we have enough sales, we'll use sales, but if not, we'll use cost. Next slide, Sarah. And you know, I guess this is a pretty straightforward slide. What factors influence value? Well, I think location's probably one of the most important, the land features, you know, do you have water views, are you on the water, are you not on the water? Construction quality, size of the buildings, those types of thing, age, condition, all of those. Pretty straightforward, that's what affects, that's what we're looking for, all this information. And I'll go to the next slide, I think it's the next slide anyways, where do we get our data? Property owners, our primary source of data is from property owners. We're talking to them all the time. Whether it be for permits, whether it be for their appeals, whether they just phone into our 800 number or send us an email. We're talking to property owners all the time. That's where we get a lot of our data. The Nova Scotia Land Registry, as I mentioned, they're sending us data on the properties all the time, the actual attributes of the property or the size and the owners and things like that. Sales reviews, real estate websites, municipal building permits, big source of our data, of course. Income and expense information, as I mentioned, costing data like Marshall and Swift costing service that we use for costing data, which is adjusted to various parts of Nova Scotia. Aerial photography, we call it pictometry. It's high resolution aerial photography that we fly areas every year, but we don't fly every area every year. We probably fly Middleton every 2-3 years. It's sort of the corridor coming down through the valley here, just so we have as up to date imagery that we can, and that allows us to look at that imagery. And if someone phones and says, look, I don't have a garage anymore, we tore it down 5 years ago, we don't need to send an assessor out there in those types of cases. If we have digital photography from above, we can see it. We don't need to go areas around some of the lakes, we can see those. And quite often get inquiries from municipalities saying, I think there's a house on this property, or there's something on this property, so we'll take a look. If we have to, we'll send an assessor out and take a look at it. So next slide, sir. So here, probably a little more interesting for you now. Some trends for Middleton from 2020 to 2025, the last 5 years. So I guess preface it by saying that COVID was a big impact on real estate markets, as you know. In the first few years of these slides, they're pretty much that time when COVID was sort of wreaking havoc on markets. And you may say, well, they're still wreaking havoc, but it's starting to adjust somewhat. So here's the number of sales, actual sales that occurred during the calendar year in Middleton over the past few years. Now it's a little bit small there, but as COVID got going, I think it was 55, and then we went to 62 at the height of COVID in 2021, and then 54 starts to dwindle off as COVID starts to peter out a little bit, and things start to return to normal, down to 35, 42 last year. And so far this year, you're at 25, but we still have 3 months left. I think this was, fairly recent data, probably a week ago or whatever. So there's a couple of months left. So you're probably not too far off that 35 number. So you can see it came down off the COVID highs, and then, sort of returning to a little bit higher than what normal would have been. So it's still a little higher, but not sort of those pandemic highs that we saw. So just to give you a little more data on that, those are just numbers of sales. But let me see, I think I've got it here somewhere. So houses that were built between 1980 and 2000 in the town of Middleton are the houses that transacted most during these periods. So for our role in 21, the assessment role in 2021, we'd be using sales that go back to 2019 to 2020. But in that year, for the 2021 role, just before COVID started impacting the role, those houses that were aged 1980 to 2000 the average sale was 114,000. As we moved into 2022, we start moving into the COVID influence, 175,000, 2023, full bore COVID, basically 258,000. That continued on into 2024, because 2024, we're using 2022 sales. No, 2023 sales for the that was tail end of COVID, 280,000 for the average sale of those houses. And then 2025, which is the numbers were sort of used for that 2025 roll a year to 2 years ago, 293,000. That's how those similar houses have moved up in value during that COVID phase, and they haven't come down. They're still going up a little. Now, that's not all the houses in Middleton, because some lower end houses may be coming down, they may be going up more. Some of the higher end ones may be coming down more, but that's just a snapshot of that band of houses and how much they moved over that period. And that's pretty similar to what they were across the province for the sort of the more popular bands of housing in the province. Next slide, sir. So assessed and taxable values. Once again, a little difficult to see from a distance, but you'll see that the blue bars over time is your total assessment roll, the value of your total assessment roll. Now that gold or orange stripe that's going through it, that's your taxable assessment. Now, the difference between the taxable assessment and the total market value assessment is the cap impact. So when you take the influence of the cap or the calculation of the cap into effect, the difference between the orange line and the top of the blue bar graph, the difference is the difference between market and cap. So assessed value at market versus taxable assessment that goes on your roll.
Excuse me, I have a question. The document that was sent along with the invitation to this meeting contained different values than what are being shown on this presentation. I think perhaps that what was sent along with meeting invite is an old document. Is it possible to have a copy of this document which is being shown?
Sure. Yeah, we sent a copy to Sarah, I think it was this morning, or late last week of the corrected one. So, yeah, it's particularly this slide was kind of inverted. And we got that before the presentation, but you're quite right. It's a good eye.
Yeah, we can update the agenda package. On the website.
Yep.
So how will you go about addressing that?
What do you mean?
Well, if you want a new copy of this document, I can give my name or you're just gonna mass mail it or.
The agenda packages on the website will be updated with
Oh.
the correct version. Yeah.
I'll go get it myself.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So that's kind of what, I guess, as municipalities used to ask us, what's the cap impact? Well, that's the cap impact. It's, 40. It's probably close to 15-16% of what your market value would be versus your cap. And typically it used to run around 10%, but over the past few years, market values have been going up. Inflation has mitigated that or put the brakes on it a little bit so that, market values have continued to go up higher than what inflation has. So that's why the gap has widened. Next slide, Sarah. And stop me at any time if you wish. Building permits. Basically, through the pandemic time, you hit a high of about 32 for the year, and 20, 25, 24 the last couple of years, 15 so far this year. We're rating permit time, and so you're probably going to hit 20, 25 somewhere there again. So fairly flattened out. So that bubble has come down, it's flattened out a little bit. Sales values are still quite high. Next slide, Sarah. And number of appeals. So starting at the bottom, which would be 2020, appeals started to increase to a high of 25 for the 2023 roll. Those are the ones whereby the market values were going up on the assessment roll because of the pandemic or during that pandemic time. And now appeals are starting to come back down again to their more normal levels.
Another question. What would be considered an appropriate or necessary issue that would actually warrant an appeal?
Your worship, I guess any issue could warrant an appeal. And we get appeals for a number of different issues. I would say probably the one that you should really be watching for is fairness of the market value. If you feel your market value is unfair, you know your markets fairly well, or an error on your assessment, like classification error or something like that. But you could, for any number of reasons, people, you know, they, you know, the one that we've seen a lot, it was that, why did my value go up so much? I didn't do anything to my house. Well, market value's been going up. Whether you did anything to your house or not, they were increasing quite substantially. So we do get that a lot, that, you know, there doesn't have any other reason, it's just, but the good thing is you can appeal, it's fairly easy. You just sign the paper, send it in, or go to the website, send us an email, and you have to give us a signature, that's the main thing, that you have to sign saying that you are who you are, and give us contact information, and somebody will reach out to you. Unless it's something whereby it seems, well, that should just be confirmed because the value is clearly, the value is fair or whatever. But in most cases, we'll reach out to that person and talk to them, that property owner.
Does that answer your question?
Hey, sir. So programs we administer, how's my time? Do I really need to go at this? I just have a few left, I think, but
Yeah.
go ahead, Sarah. So the CAP assessment program, a lot of questions on the CAP assessment program. We administer on behalf of the province, it's provincial legislation. And it caps the amount that the property can increase in any particular year to the consumer price index. So last year it was 1.5%. At the height of the pandemic, it was 7.7%. Last year it was 1.5%. This year it's been running around 2%, maybe a little lower. So the province will tell us what the CPI rate is at the end of this month. Well, they'll probably tell us a couple of weeks into November, but at the end of October, they will tell us what the CPI rate was from October to October, and they'll advise us what the cap should be as far as the CPI rate. The interesting thing about the cap is that there is no allowance within the cap for a decrease in the cap. So the cap will go up by CPI. You know, and that will be the ceiling at which it will increase unless you take out permits or unless you make improvements that we hadn't assessed before. Well, that new data we have to put on there and add to the cap. But essentially, that's the ceiling that it should go up with no other changes, is the CPI, which is your cap if you're eligible. And there's a number of criteria to be eligible for the cap. But that's the ceiling to which it'll go up. However, if the garage was demolished or something changed, you had a flood and the basement was ruined, you had to tear out the basement or something, the cap does not go down because of that loss of value for which occurred. The market value may go down, and if the market value goes down below the capped amount, then the cap goes away and gets reset at that lower value. So the cap cannot go down.
So
Yes.
if, let's say there's a market correction, for example.
Yep.
And something happens, anyway, you get a drop across the board, that will does that require an appeal for that? Or is that just basically when the assessments come out, our assessments drop 10%, whatever, and that gets reassessed?
We'll look at the sales data, just as we do is when it's going up or going down. We'll look at the sales data. The sales data will tell us which way it should go. And quite frankly, doesn't go down a whole lot. It has, I know I used to be the assessor in the Sackville area, and Sackville had like 40 neighborhoods. Some neighborhoods would go, at that time, they were, you know, you might be going up 1, 2, 3, 4%, but some were going down 1, 2, 3%, but the majority were going up. So overall, the value, the value's been going up, but if the market value has been going up and then all of a sudden reverses, then those market values will be reflected on the assessment roll. And if your assessment goes below your cap, your market value goes below your cap, the cap goes away and it gets reset the next year at that lower market value. So you always get the lower of the two. But the cap doesn't go down. But if the market value is down below your cap, resets the cap.
Are we okay?
Your turn.
Thank you. I suppose that's the appropriate way to get
Yeah.
put my hand up right now. Good question for you about caps, again. So, you have a property with an assessed value, the cap is determined at the time of assessment as being a representative value for that property. If a homeowner was to replace a roof, replace their windows, paint their house, do other requirements, other than the roof happens to that.
It will, if it's determined that it's modernization of the house as opposed to normal. Normal maintenance. So typically replacing the roof is not normal, or not modernization per se. But if this is where the opinion of the assessor is important. Is it goes to the extent of modernizing the house and you redid all the insulation, you put a new roof on, you put on melamine, put in all new windows, put on all the siding. That's modernization, that's, you're making the house newer essentially. If it's typical maintenance, it doesn't affect cap, but for what you're talking about the more modern, the more significant modernization. You should be taking out a permit and then the permit would come to us, we'd look at it. And yes, it would probably increase the cap if you were modernizing the property.
Would something like, underground swimming pool, affect the cap price?
Yeah, swimming pool, that would be an improvement to the property, so it would go on that first year over and above. So say added about $20,000 to market value, your assessment would be, your tax assessment would be your cap value plus. For that year, and following year, we have with that apply.
Any physical improvements to your property could potentially impact your cap. If you take out a permit, put in a swimming pool, it will add that value to the cap. Solar panels, no, we don't assess solar panels.
I'd just like to remind people, you've got to go through me to ask the question. Yes,
Change ownership, so sale of a property. At. Cause virtually every realtor says, oh, well, the assessed value is not the market value. And easily anywhere from 10-30% above is what they research. The minimum margin between what is on the roll. The market properties. When the property sells. At that usually the higher price, is that also a time when the assessment, the cap is broken, you base the assessment on the selling price? Is there any
Yeah.
impact there?
Yeah, so every time the property changes hands, as long as it's not a family transaction, then if the previous owner has cap, that would go. Or if they didn't use their full assessed value for that first year after, so if you bought in 2024, you wouldn't have a cap for 2025, but then you would become eligible for.
And your worship, I remind everybody to be mindful that when the realtor tells you that it's, the market value is higher, we're 1 year back, we're 1 to 2 years back. So we're looking at market values and you can see, we're up 20% a year for 3 or 4 years. So we're 1 year back, so yeah, but we, under the international assessment standards, the standard is to be between 90% and 110% of true market value in that neighborhood. And typically we're at about 97, 96, 98% on average in those neighborhoods. For that particular year in which we're doing now, this is for the roll.
yes, that's what it's from.
Quick question, when you were talking about the Middleton area market. Now, there's Middleton area and then there's also the town of Middleton. How do you distinguish neighborhoods? And I'm thinking specifically. If we've got several subdivisions around here, but then there's also a subdivision on the other side of the river, which is Annapolis County. We've got on Victoria Street, you've got a bunch of new developments. How are they? They're in a different tax zone, different whole couple. how are they affecting our property valuations?
Well, when I said Middleton area, I'm talking the town.
Okay,
Like
so
the
it is
areas
specifically within the
within
5 square,
Middleton or
okay,
whatever the
yeah, no,
neighborhood. Now, I'll let Tracy speak a little bit about how, we look at neighborhoods and market values, I suppose, if you want to handle that.
Yeah, so, where, like, basically, if we're looking at town of Middleton, those properties can transact at a different value for the same type of property, whether it's in the county or not, because, there's the convenience of living in town, you feel people may pay more for that, so we look at the sales and we look at we've done analysis to determine what areas, what streets are similar enough to each other, and then we call that a neighborhood. And say, when we are reviewing a value, when we look for comparables, we always try to stick within the location, like the neighborhood, and if we have to expand out, we would, but for example, if, we're looking at a Middleton house and there's no comparables, the next comparable is in Annapolis County, we would take that into consideration that they don't have the municipal services with the department. Which would have impacted them.
So essentially, this slide, if you go through the numbers, you have your assessed value, which is the market value, you have your CAT assessment, if you're eligible for it. And if you're not eligible, you won't see anything in that column, it'll be blank. But in this case, the assessed market value is considerably higher than the capped assessed value. They get the benefit of the lower of the two, and they'll be taxed on the capped assessed value. Next slide, Sarah. Our seasonal tourist business program, which people had to apply for before September the 1st. It's essentially gives a tax reduction of 25% to those businesses that meet the seasonal eligibility. And you need to be either a restaurant, a roofed accommodation, or a campground, or part thereof. You can't be, sort of go-kart track or some other type of amusement thing, or you have to have, your restaurant, roof accommodation, or a campground. Now, if you've got an amusement park and you've got a restaurant on it, that portion could potentially get the 25% of the value of that portion, could get the 25% credit. But you have to be closed for at least 4 months in the taxation year. Has to be operated by the property owner and or close relatives, and properties with more than one business must be used, it must mainly be used for seasonal business. Next slide, Sarah. And next one. So 2024 market from, that 2024 calendar year right up to January 1st, 2025. That's what we're analyzing right now, or we're pretty much through analyzing that right now for the roll that's coming out in January. We're looking back, we're analyzing those sales. So back then, Nova Scotia sees busiest first quarter on record for housing starts. Summer looks good for hotel operators, rents grow at a slower pace than in the year. And interest savings boost November home sales. Those types of things were affecting the market at that time. So still a reasonable market, pretty reasonable market overall. Sales are still pretty robust and happening. Next slide there, Sarah. So think back those 2 years essentially. And here's housing market trends for 2024. Across the province, MLS reports essentially about a 7% increase in housing prices during that 2024 analysis year. That's their independent number. And on the right, you'll see some of the graph here that in 2023, market increased 20.4% based on our analysis. In 2024, 19.1. 2025 roll was 8.9, so it's down a little bit after that COVID bubble. And in 2026, we're looking at right now, and this is just kind of, subject to change, but we're just kind of ballparking around 7.5% for market growth. And that includes some of the permit work we've already done. So we're not too far off of what the MLS price index that's used as a benchmark. We're not too far off there, 6.97. We're sitting at around 7.5, that's with building permit information added in. Still got a little ways to go too, so that number will change. But don't forget, that's not gonna be your taxation lift. The cap is gonna reduce that. If CPI is sitting in around 2%, it's gonna be 2% on those properties. And right now, as of last year's roll, 84% of your residential improved properties, those with houses on it, 84% of them were capped. And that's up from a few years back before the pandemic, you were sitting at around 64, 65%. So that high market value increases and versus CPI, more people became eligible for the cap. And next slide, and we're out there collecting our data now. You'll see Zoe, she's one of our assessors. That's what we look like when we're out in your neighborhoods. So we have identification on our vehicles, the magnetic signs. We have the color vests. And we also have lanyards and identification tags, and the vests say PVSC on them. I know in the past, we have people that are quite concerned that somebody's in their yard looking at my property. We do have to go in people's driveways, and we do have to go in and look at the properties. And we can't phone 650,000 property owners before we go. So when we're picking up permits, we go and we get them. And so if anybody's calling you to say there's somebody in my yard, I don't know who they are, they've got no identification, then phone the police, because we're gonna look like that. And so it's very apparent that it will be us.
Yes, sir.
A quick question about caps. I was explained a moment ago that if a property sold this year for whatever market value is, that next year the assessment would be equivalent to the sale price of the property this year. And then at some point in the near future, the cap would apply based on basically the CPI moving forward. Does that apply on the second year of ownership, or is there a phasing in of that process, or what does it get back to?
So if the property sold in 2025, the next year, the next assessment year would be 2026, and so that property would be not cap eligible. And then in 2027 would be the first year that there would see a cap. So basically 2 years after.
Right.
If the property was purchased, they'd be eligible.
Thank you.
And I believe this is our last slide, so. Our contact information for municipal staff, straight to our client service team. We have the service desk at pvsc.ca. And the 800 number will get you to us as well. But that, for staff, if you use service desk at pvsc.ca, our service team will look at that. It'll be triaged, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. I see every one of those. Unless I'm at NSFM next week, I'll still see them. I just may not have just look at them that much, but we do have somebody looking at every one of them, and we'll get back to you one way or another as quickly as we can. Some take longer than others, but we have to send a request off to the registry, the land registry. It could take some time. If we need to send an assessor out to inspect the property, it could take some time. But we will tell you that we are going out to inspect. Might take some time. We will let you know what we're doing. For property owners, we have our contact center, the 800 number as well. And if they want to email us, it's inquiry@pvsc.ca. That takes us right to our service, our contact center people. And they will determine whether it should go to an assessor. We have assessors on the phone. And especially during our appeal period, which is that middle of January through the next 31 days. We have we have all hands on deck. And so if you're a property owner, that's the number to call, or use the website, because there's a lot of good information on there. And I think that's it. So Tracy and I thank you very much for allowing us to be here tonight, and we're certainly open to stick around for some more questions if you have them. I know you typically, most councils would have lots of stuff on your agenda.
Thank you very much for the
Very well.
presentation.
Thank you.
Does anybody have any other questions from council? Everybody's okay in the gallery? Okay,
Thank
All
you,
right.
Your Worship.
you're very welcome.
And after the numbers come out in December, I'd be, it'd be my pleasure to come back again in January, February, if you wanna go over the roll before you do your budget. Just reach out, we'd be glad to do it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
May you drive safely. Item 4 is the approval of the minutes.
Thank
you. The minutes from September 15th council meeting and October 6th special council meeting have been circulated. Did anybody notice any errors or admissions to those? Hearing none. They're approved. Now, section 5 is anything by citizens. Dale.
I didn't get anything. No. There's public.
Yeah, so did anybody from the public have something they'd like to say?
Yes, hopefully I'm not out of turn, but I did send, you, and there's some information, that came out of the water committee meeting. About interest in developing, bike
Lily
trail
Lake?
in the, watershed area.
Yes,
And, the municipalities expressed interest in that project as well. And so at some point at your convenience and council's convenience, I'd like to make a presentation, discussing the whole potential project. And to see if, it would meet, approval of council, and then, some serious planning could occur. Some of the preliminary assessment we've done, we did, digital area mapping of the property based on a map that the municipality sent us. And the suggestion was it did have in fact a high potential for bike trail. And or perhaps a couple, an easy one and maybe one more challenging for competitive kids. And I might just sort of end off by saying that it would be appreciated if we can make a presentation at the next meeting. One of the things that had been brought to my attention by a number of parents, including my grandson and his dad, was that we need something in our community to get the kids away from the screen, some active sports, outdoor sports. The Eastern Valley has got lots of bike trails down in the Kentville area. There's been development now in the Clementsport area, some excellent bike trails. And so we'd like to explore the possibility of doing something for the Middleton area.
yes.
On the.
I will contact with Sarah.
Pardon?
Yes, probably get in contact with Sarah and you can find a place on our agenda. So that you can make your presentation. That would be great.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Yes,
Yes, I've noticed on the agenda that there's a discussion on changing the logo for the town of Middleton.
yes,
If you don't mind, I'll sit down.
yeah, sure. That's okay.
And and I'm wondering why they want a proposed change in the logo. From the sans font to a very bold, black and, font.
Did you get a chance to read the RFD that was posted on the agenda package?
I beg your pardon?
Did you get a chance to read the request for decision
Yes, I
document?
did.
So it did explain in there that the font is no longer considered accessible.
It's not.
Accessible.
Accessible, so scriptured fonts are no longer considered accessible anymore.
Accessible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, so they're looking for plain, very simple, easy to read fonts in logos, and even our reports, we're trying to not use Times New Roman as an example. So that's not an accessible font anymore. We're using Calibri or Arial.
I'm very sorry to hear that, because I think that our logo is very unique and very expressive of our town. And the way it reads now, it's not accessible to me, because it reads middle lot N. Like the way the heart is designed, I read it a middle lot. It's MIDDLET, heart N. So it looks like middle lot to me, not Middleton. So I'm not sure that that's accessible. I'm very visual, and that it doesn't appear to be accessible to me. So if we're going to put Middleton very boldly, then I think we need to put Middleton, not put the heart in. The other point that I'd like to make or ask is, and I think it needs to be made clear to the citizens why we're changing it. It's for accessibility, and it has to in fact be accessible. The other, in researching it, I went to Google and I found that the reference to Middleton in Google is very outdated. It's 2020 for, Middleton. And it refers to, part of the valley as our, nickname, and it's not our nickname, it's our motto. And there's a lot of information in terms of our political representatives being 4 years old. The population is listed at 18,000, and I don't believe it is 18,000. So is it possible to update our Google?
So we don't control Google. Are you talking about our
Yes.
website or are you talking about Google?
Google,
So we don't control Google, like, as a,
we don't have any, where do they get their information?
I don't know, I don't run Google.
I thought we
don't
could,
know.
I thought we,
Yeah, you can update your Google statistics if they're inaccurate. Same with the
We
business.
can look into that, I don't know. We can,
because it's not representative of our town. So I think somebody needs to correct it.
I just Googled it and I don't see where it says that, but I mean, we can look into that. We're in the process of updating our website, and potentially when we do that, sometimes AI will grab things from the website and update Google. I think.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yeah, I'll just put up my hand asking for an update on the new subdivision board plans. And the secondary planning strategy status.
No update as of right now. I have a document in my email that I do have to review that the planner did meet with. The largest landowner, and the planner is recommending having a PAC meeting soon to try to get it going.
Okay, great.
We're trying to get it back on the track. Great. Oh, and if I may,
Yes.
Sarah has already updated the agenda package with the updated PBSC presentation on our website.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Alrighty. All right, moving right along. Item 6.1. A, RFD 052-2025 Middleton logo change, CAO.
So this was presented at the committee of the whole meeting. I'm not sure if I need to go over it again, but there is a recommended logo change there. And the background kind of lists the reasons, which we talked about, the font styles and just having a refreshed branding.
I'll move the council approve the use and implementation of the new logo and its variations.
Is there a second?
Since there's not, then we need, like, there has to be direction as to what.
Well,
we
I-
want staff to do.
Yes,
I guess just in light of some comments from our committee of the whole meeting and by the gallery, maybe we should, this is gonna be our logo forever,
Well, not forever.
well, for a long time.
So, yeah, they-
How about for a long
yes.
time? Maybe if that's the case, then maybe we should explore other options. Or have it on, yes, because this is the only one that's really presented.
Yep.
Right, so again, I think maybe put the cart before the horse.
That was the goal, was to present some options, but things got busy and we just.
Right.
Priorities, if we want this to be the priority, then we'll set some other things aside and.
Well, as I said before, I think it should come before council before it's implemented. So maybe perhaps we could have some other options.
So I think council needs to make a motion, or well, that motion.
That's why the
Get a
motion-
second.
I made the motion,
So-
we can second it, then
Yes.
have discussions, and then if we want to vote it.
But
then-
it didn't get seconded. so-
Yeah.
No, that's
No, it
right,
didn't.
but I think that because there's a request for decision in front of you, you should make a motion directing staff to do something different.
Yeah. Councilor Fournier, you wanted to say?
I was going to see something that I think I noticed, And I think that, when it got changed, I think it changed Facebook, because Facebook doesn't have town, because our logo doesn't have town on it anymore. What I was getting Middleton in the States. I think that happened as a result, I'm not sure.
What do you mean, like when you Google it or?
No, when I Google Middleton, yeah, if I Google it or Facebook it.
A Facebook search would give you different results.
Yep. I mean, it all would, there's other towns in Middleton and like.
Yeah,
other
and,
places.
yeah, so I don't know if it's anything to do with that. I just, my Facebook, I couldn't understand why I wasn't getting our information.
The pictures shouldn't drive the search engine on Facebook or Google, so I would.
Yeah.
Okay, so we need another motion.
You do not have to debate the other motion.
No, it never.
Yeah,
never-
it's
never-
second.
Didn't have a second, okay.
Didn't have a second, so you can go ahead and make a new motion.
I'll move that, staff explore additional options to, current Middleton logo for consideration for change.
Seconder for that?
I'll second.
Thank you, Counselor Smith. Any more discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Sarah, can you
Carried.
just read back the motion to just make sure you have it?
Just gonna listen to the Facebook reading.
You'll get it accurate by listening to the. video.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
right, okay,
Leave
great.
that option.
That's a great option.
Can I just add one little bit to that? Can we have somebody just take a quick peek at, I mean, if we've been tinkering with stuff on various different websites and media platforms, maybe something has been tweaked. We've just had two people say that they've gone independently have said they've gone to both Google and Facebook and haven't quite got the results they were expecting. So is it worth looking into that if we have changed accidentally something or?
Yeah, we can. I mean, I just did it and didn't get anything different that I.
Sure,
normally
but
do,
it, yeah,
I don't know how that gets done. I talked.
I
to
might have to ask
Rosie,
our
My
IT
phone,
person.
Facebook starts sending me gross speed.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you know, it's much more than just, you know, typing in something. I think,
Yeah.
you know, I can type in the Capitol Pub and I'll get one that's down in Houston, Texas.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times it's user needs to watch out and look.
Yes, Counselor Smith.
So, given that we're gonna take more time, which I fully support. We've implemented the logo on our Facebook page and. Some of our branded clothing, I believe. And the signage that is being ordered for various things around the town
I don't think it's been ordered yet.
is waiting to be ordered then. Are we just putting all of that signage on hold or are we
I
putting
guess
it
so.
on the old logo or?
Well,
So there
Put it
is
on hold.
implications when we're trying to put signage over in Rotary Park saying, stop messing around. We can't spend 6 months to a year. Fiddling around with our logo and not ordering any signs, paperwork or anything else. Not saying it should be the highest priority item that staff deal with, but it does have longer implications as to what we're trying to do with directional and warning signage within the community.
Yeah, I mean, I would not wanna order signs now with the old logo and then 2 months later have to order new signs.
But you don't want to order with the proposed new logo if that's not gonna be the.
Yeah.
that's gonna be up.
Well, we'll just put it on hold. I'm not ordering.
Imagine,
Yes.
maybe this should come back at our next council meeting.
well, what
with
staff
a
had,
couple of new.
oh, yeah.
The month, right?
Yeah.
Not committee, the whole, I mean, council meeting. And with a couple more new designs, possible.
Yes, that.
Like, so we can have this maybe done by the new year
Or before.
or before. Correct.
Yep, does council have any direction as to what you want staff to do then? For the new logo? Do you want us to issue a survey? Do you want us to put ideas on the website? Do you want us to do a public consultation? Or do you just want staff to come up with 3 ideas, 5 ideas? What do you look?
I do think there's some merit to what was presented from the gallery. Now that I see it in that light, that it's Middlelet Arts Inn. And I guess if you're not familiar with the community, it could be somewhat confusing. I don't know if it's as simple as putting an O inside the heart. Well, how that, I don't know, we don't wanna get into a design meeting tonight, I'm sure. But I do understand the heart being in the wording of Middleton could be problematic, so perhaps we need to wander away from that concept. And have the heart somewhere in the logo, but not in the name Middleton. That will be my only direction, if my opinion of the direction going forward.
In our existing logo, the heart is before, but it could be after or somewhere.
It's, I absolutely think it should be somewhere. Perhaps it shouldn't be in the letters themselves, so they're substituting for a letter itself.
Is it a lot of extra work to, once we narrow it down to say 3 candidates that staff is happy with, or think their thing to pop up a survey online for a week or 2 and get some input from? I'm just,
That's what I'm asking.
yeah, I mean,
If
like,
you want us to put out a
if-
survey or.
if it's not gonna be
run
a massive amount of work
machine,
to,
can.
like, if once you guys have got some stuff narrowed down, if it's not a massive amount of work to pop up a survey online for, then that's probably community input, which is always worth something. You know.
And then we can just attach, like, we'll use the same RFD, but we'll update it.
Yeah.
Perhaps, and just include, like, so we can do, is that what council's okay with 3 options?
Yeah, I think that's plenty.
3 options, we'll put a survey out for a couple weeks, we'll attach the results of that survey to the RFD. Do you want any in-person public consultation or
I
Wouldn't
think you're
think
gonna get
that's-
enough feedback from
online?
Yeah.
online. I think you'll have the feedback online, and if there's any more feedback, then we'll want to come sit in our gallery.
Yeah, we'll have a committee, the whole meeting before that
Yes.
anyway, which they can.
Okay. I just wanna say, it sounds like a fairly, small, task to take on, but it's gonna be our logo or our identity moving forward for a number of years, so I guess it's not making it sound trivial, but we should probably try to get it right.
Yeah.
And not that what was currently proposed, I thought it was kind of nice, but hearing some feedback for others, so maybe, in my business, when we proposed a logo, we had like 3, maybe 4 different options to choose from and work with, and you might like some from one and but implement with, option 1, so. Anyway, I know that it might be a small thing, in the big picture, but however, it's a big thing when it gets used everywhere.
Okay, we'll do that and bring it forward to representative.
I guess we're dead set on the idea that we have to change it.
I like the current logo, but I understand apparently in the accessibility world.
I think as part of, so even before I started with the town, a whole rebranding initiative was started. Like I found quite a bit on that. It was part of the budget at one point. I mean, you guys will remember more than I do, because I wasn't here when that started. But there was a rebranding initiative that was supposed to happen and it became, I think from what I looked at, too expensive to try to do it, so. When Gina started, we looked at trying to do some of it in-house and updating the website and. Updating creating a communications plan and doing something.
Which could all be done without changing that one item. I know in my former counselor days, we tried every year to replace the signage at the highway. Because everybody else had been putting new modernized, didn't mean they're changing their logo, they were just refreshing that old green sign that said welcome to Middleton, or Middleton that way, whatever it said. If the experts say that kids today or whoever can't read cursive, then I get it. I mean, I think that's a bigger issue that we won't get into here, but, no, I know, and I understand that. But logos are identity, and you're never gonna see Nike change their swoosh. I think I might have said that 2 weeks ago. but-
And
You did.
I mean, one of the options that we present might be that the heart stays at the front, the town of the Heart of the Valley is still there, and then Middleton is just different font.
It's just block.
Right?
Yeah.
And it just makes it more readable, so
Mhm.
I mean, that can be one of the options, we'll.
Sounds.
Yeah.
Just some feedback from Gal.
If I could just add that I, and I think many other citizens are very proud of the logo of Heart of the Valley.
So that's the
That
slogan.
concept is
Yeah.
what-
That's a
it's
slogan.
a lot of our street designations, our streets with a heart on it.
Yeah.
And I think it stands us out in terms of the valley, so. I was one to hang on to that.
Thank you.
Okay, so
Yeah, I have some there.
exactly, that's a little bit of work to do. And we'll put out a survey and check it out, see what people think, and then bring back, 2 or 3 things that will hopefully meet what everybody wants. Alrighty, moving on to 6.1B, RFD 053 2025 interest rate on overdue taxes and fees.
So this was also brought forward to community pool, so I won't be presented, but it's just trying to make our interest that we charge on taxes consistent with our water rates and also bring it down to a lower rate that's more consistent with surrounding municipal units.
I'll move the council approve charging an interest rate of 1.5% per month or any portion thereof on all outstanding balances of taxes and other charges on the tax roll effective November 1st, 2025.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
C, RFD 055 2025 dangerous and unsightly policy, CAO.
So this is also presented at community pool. Our old dangerous and unsightly policy is attached to the RFD as well as the newly proposed one. So the background on this is that with the county doing our bylaw enforcement, we wanted where it made sense and where possible to recommend changing our policies to be consistent with theirs and there's no major changes, but some notable changes are in there.
I move council approve the proposed revisions to the dangerous and unsightly premises policy.
Discussion?
Only that, when I was reading through that, I didn't see, particular guidelines or anything like that they're operating on. Is that in a different, volume that they have? Or,
Guidelines for what?
well, dangerous, unsightly, what constitutes,
It's in the municipal government act, it's defined.
okay, it's defined, so that's what I'm asking, it's defined in the
There's a
municipal
whole
government.
section, and I referenced the MGA sections
Okay,
in this document, or in the RFD.
okay,
It's quite a long.
well, it was a lot of packaged.
Yeah.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
6.2 audit committee recommendations. A RFD 058 2025 appointment of auditors. Return again, CEO.
Thank you. So this comes as a recommendation from the town's audit committee. So the town put out an RFQ for audit services covering a 5-year period. Because our current term and contract with our current audit firm is now complete. So we put that RFQ out. We had 2 respondents, our existing incumbent auditors, which is BDO Canada, and then the new Dwayne Grant Thornton LLP. We had our finance person, Kevin, analyze and make a recommendation of the 2 packages to the audit committee. The audit committee reviewed the recommendation and is recommending that council make an award to our existing auditor for the 5 years for a specific amount, and then further appoint them as the auditor for the next 5 years as well.
I'll move that the audit committee I'll recommend that the council award the RFQ on services covering the 5-year period for fiscal years ending March 31st, 2026 through March 31st, 2030 to BDO Canada Key for an amount of $200,786 plus non-recoverable HST. And further appoint BDO Canada LLP as the municipal auditor for the same fiscal year.
Somebody,
Second.
discussion? All those in favor? Motion carried. 6.3, 2025-26 capital projects update.
So this is the capital projects update that we've been bringing forward to council, so council is aware of the status of all the projects. We're still waiting on some invoices on a few, and some are still underway. But I don't think I will go through every single one on the list, but if council has questions, I can take them.
Is the water, shed or the water storage or is that, is that?
Reservoir?
On, is that on track?
As far as I know, it is, yes. So, originally in the proposal from Roscoe, they were supposed to be finished, the construction by November. And I'm not sure if that included actually transitioning, like flipping over the water to the new reservoir. But per our grant, we have until the end of March to finish.
I've driven by it, it looks great.
Yeah.
Quite a long ways, I was just curious as to whether it was done, there seems to be less traffic around there lately.
They need to do some connections and testing before they like make it live on our system.
And still no information on our extra charge.
Actually, I got an email while I was on vacation on Friday. I didn't have a chance to talk to CBCL or Adam about it yet, but it does look like that we got an email from the tariff. And I haven't had a chance to read it, so I don't know what's all there. But the email from CL says this looks like good news about eligibility. We'll review, encourage you to do so as well, so.
Great.
So, yeah, he wants to set up a meeting, so I need to get back to him and have a meeting with CBCL this week. So that would be.
That would be great, yes.
So I expect I will have an update for council at the November 3rd committee meeting, perhaps, or the council meeting in November.
That would be great. 6.4 financial forecast for town, general and water utility.
So this is the first time presenting the forecast to council. So we try to do it in the same format as our monthly reports to council, and this is kind of similar to our financial statements and our budget document at the high level as well. So this forecast uses actuals as of end of August. The staff are still getting a little bit caught up, but are mostly caught up in a lot of areas now. And I mean, it's still early days in the year, like even though we're in October, our accounting's not quite caught up to October. So this is as of end August, like I said. And we're not projecting any material underruns or overruns in either town general or water at this moment. So yeah, there's nothing major to report there. But I expect when we do another forecast, there might be some updated information.
Questions?
Just a
Okay. And 6.5 RFD 059 2025 naming of the wetland park.
Thank you. So it was just brought to my attention by our NPOW coordinator that we need to officially name our Middleton Wetland Trail, which still has not had an official opening because they're looking for signage. But as background, the wetland trail is over across from the Averys, on Brooklyn Road. There's not much water there now because of the drought, but there usually is wetland. So it's part of a long-term conservation recreation initiative. we partnered with Clean and Apple River Project. This was before my time, so when I came on, the project was mostly finished. And it did get turned over to the town, once it was completed. The original working title was the Brooklyn Street Wetland Restoration Project, which is probably not what we want to call the park. And there have been a few other names bunted around, I'm told, but it hasn't been officially named. So in the interest of getting council's opinion and approval on the name before we put the sign up, we want to bring an RFD forward and see if you like the proposed idea of just keeping it simple as Middleton Wetland Trail, or if you want us to go back and come up with some other options. But this was the recommendation of staff.
Do we need a motion for that before we discuss, or?
I think you need to put a motion on the floor. It's before discussion. like-
Yeah.
Sure, the council approved the name of Middleton Wetland Trail as the official name of the wetland restoration site and direct staff to proceed with the final design and installation of the welcome signage.
I'll second that.
Discussion.
So whatever we name it will have to be. Any signage will have to be held off until we decide on the Middleton.
Logo.
Logo, yeah.
There is already a budget in place for this, sort of money set aside previously for signage,
It-
like,
It was
Yeah.
part of the grant, I believe.
Yeah. I personally agree that, yeah, keeping it simple, Middleton Wetland Trail is simple and easy.
That's what we've kind of been referring to it as, but
Yeah.
The Middleton Wetland Trail, no motorized vehicles allowed.
Canoes only.
That'll be all signage.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Any further
Just in
discussion?
the interest of conversation, is there anything or anyone that, we feel we should dedicate this to, like we have, pavilions and stuff in the back? I'm just putting it out there. I'm not saying I'm just as a discussion.
usually when you name something after someone or something, it's because they've donated a large sum of money to help do it.
Or
Um,
put that as an opportunity then?
Or.
Yeah, so this
Wanna
was,
sell the naming rights?
Monetary.
and this was the Clean and Apples River Project, so CARP and the East Coast of Arts were the two organizations that did all the work and.
Oh.
Did everything there.
I know.
Yes, Diane.
Is this an opportunity for the town to include this in a survey to the citizens to gain participation and education in terms of the wetlands? The decision is still made by the town, council, but at least the town, the citizens have an opportunity to become perhaps more aware of the wetlands. And maybe it's something children could participate, the schools could participate in, and as an educational tool.
Yes.
Diane, that the wetlands trail has been there for like 2 years now. And I know schools have gone over and done tours and stuff. So it's not like it's not out there that people haven't used it or anything like that. Like it's not been blocked off that people can't go in and walk the trail or bike the trail. I've even biked it a few times myself. And the schools have gone over and done some touring as well.
Yes, okay.
I guess what's the feeling of council? We're having this discussion, so the question becomes, we either approve Middleton Wetland Trail, but we're gonna have to ask staff to do a survey. It would be easy to piggyback this onto the survey, so I guess that's my only comment, is what's the wishes of council?
Well,
Therefore, that would be reflected in a yay or a nay vote.
I think the two are somewhat different. The Middleton Trail situation is just getting a name on this. So we can kind of push forward with it, and the educational components and stuff like that, and the signage and stuff like that. I would tend to think would come later in terms of once we get the signage in place. kind of thing you can do, the education component and stuff like that. I don't know that we need to go asking everybody about everything, in terms of, the non-primary, naming.
Well, they did have a soft opening of the trail, which walked and was quite lovely, and there was quite a group of people. And the folks that use it the most are the people that live at Avery's, the townhouses there. There was probably,
The majority.
I don't know what,
It was the majority
15
of them, I
or
think.
some people from across from Avery's, and they use it every day. Now, I don't know if they were using it because I seen that it was blocked off because of the fires on this point. But they know it as the wetlands, the wetland trail. It's in Middleton. You know, I don't know.
I like the name.
I like the name, so
Oh, I like the name too. I just thought I'd put the question out there.
stop it.
Well,
It's completely the guys' decision. I mean, as you pointed out, we don't have to. I think if we did a survey for every single decision we had to make, it would not be a good use of time, but we certainly can. For this, it's.
I
really
can't
what-
imagine, sorry, I can't imagine us coming up with a better name. It's short, it's direct, it
Yeah.
identifies where we are. If I've
Exactly.
learned nothing from my times of calling our local police department, is that we better have good naming of where we are
Right,
with a civic number on it,
yeah,
or they're not gonna find us.
that's right.
So if you want emergency services to show up, you can't have it, and I love the man dearly, but you cannot have the Schaffner Wetlands Trail, for
No.
instance. They're not gonna know where it is in
No,
6 weeks
that's right,
before they show
exactly.
up. And that's
Yeah.
just that. So I think this is as simple as we're gonna get, direct and efficient and appropriate.
I agree.
There's the ones wonderful.
So where are we at? And
well,
Winner,
I know you're not supposed to ask this, but I'll call for question.
question. What? Oh,
That means we go.
yeah, yeah, right, yeah, sorry. I was getting a little. Worried about my
You were waiting
clothes
for a
dry.
question.
Yeah, I was waiting for the question. All those in favor?
I,
Aye. And those against? Motion carried. It will be Middleton Wetland Trail. Thank you.
Middleton Wetlands.
Yeah. Join, please. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, it's on my web paper. And there is a added 6.6.
Oh, yeah.
The joint. Police Advisory Board. And that's yours, Constable Smith.
So some time ago, I guess it was back on September 18th, a number of us attended. Of course, there's a couple of members on the board. A number of us attended that meeting in the gallery. To say it went poorly, in my opinion, would be an understatement. And it really questioned, in my mind, our participation within that joint police advisory board. The chair started the meeting by saying that he thought the police were doing a fantastic job. Went on to say that it, much later in the meeting, that it's not our job to criticize the police, which I can't disagree with necessarily, but I didn't think that we were trying to criticize the police, rather than point out the issues that we're having here in town. He allowed the citizen engagement people 2 minutes to speak. He allowed overages on that, I will admit. But I felt that that was an insult to the close to dozen individuals. It says 9, I believe, in the minutes. But I find that if we have that kind of engagement from the citizens to show up and have their hands up to want to speak to issues, they should be allowed all the time reasonably necessary to make their points. I don't feel that that happened. Once again, the member from the RCMP that was supposed to be there didn't make it. That's not the first time. The replacement called in on vacation. Wasn't as prepared as he should have been, and that's no fault of his. It was dropped in his lap last minute. I fully accept that. But that's, again, not the first police advisory board meeting that I've attended where we have not gotten full use of the time and information that should have been available at that meeting. The meeting was then summarily ended at an hour 45, I believe it was, with additional questions pending. I was not impressed, and I don't feel that Middleton was properly represented. And I don't, if that is the tenor of the meetings going forward or have already occurred, I don't feel that we are adequately representing our community on that board and should consider not being on that joint police advisory board anymore.
So do you feel that the members that are on that board aren't doing their job?
I don't feel that the members of the, on that, in that meeting. I do not feel that the members adequately represented the citizens of this town. And that's not picking on our members on that board, because there was a county member on that board spoke quite a bit and didn't, in my impression, did not have the citizens' interests at heart.
I wish unfortunately I wasn't there, so I can't
I-
speak
I
much,
just
I
feel
can't speak
for-
much more than that, I just, because that was asking for clarity.
If any of the other members that were at the meeting want to, or any of the gallery that was at the meeting want to tell me I'm incorrectly assessing the situation, I'm more than happy to listen to that.
Yes, definitely.
I was there, and I do concur with Counselor Smith. I have had an opportunity to do some homework and speaking with someone outside the community that was involved in municipal policing and joint RCMP municipal functions and drug detail, and that used to teach community-based policing at the Atlantic Police Academy, which is now recognized by the RCMP as a training facility. In the Police Act, so I'm just going to cite legislation. So in the Police Act, if you go down through the Police Act, it's been brought to my attention that the only time you can have a joint police advisory board is when two municipal units actually amalgamate. So for example, if the county of Cumberland and the town of Amherst amalgamated, then you could have a joint police advisory board. But in the Police Act, that's the only time that it states that you can have a joint police advisory. So I'm surprised that the Department of Justice entertained the application for a joint police advisory board, because we are two separate municipal units. So we should be represented independently. So I too concur with Councilor Smith's comments.
As, if I could, sorry,
Yes.
as a, well, vice chair, but, I don't disagree. I will tell you that I was on the previous, police advisory board, which was just Middleton. I like the direction and the information that was provided, at those meetings, opposed to the direction that it now seems to take, and the lack of, or it's the lack of being able to, get that information, or the meetings they're just different. I mean, you know, it's maybe it's the direction that's being given through the chair, maybe it's direction or the inability of, I don't remember ever, or very rarely, having our police representative or RCMP representative didn't show up to a meeting. It was here in Middleton. There's a big difference, and I mean, and some of these differences are only being seen now because we're having these joint meetings. But there is a big difference between the policing needs of the town of Middleton opposed to the reality of a rural area like the county of Annapolis. And so we're both seem to be, you know, and I think it was Deputy Mayor who said this, that somebody was ecstatic that they seen the RCMP go down to number 10 when they were out in their driveway, and that, you know, and then that was a rare thing where we have higher expectations of seeing the RCMP in a town of Middleton because of the amount of people and what's going on in Middleton. So our needs may be greater. We get it thrown at us all the time that, you know, the reason why we're paying what we are for policing in comparison to the geographical area of Annapolis County is because our policing we have a better response than, say, somebody in I can't even remember all the communities around here now would have, because how the police respond to them. They're quicker to come to in Middleton, but yet it's just two different, completely different needs and two completely different thoughts. So I don't think I expressed that well enough, because I wasn't really ready to talk on it, but I agree with what's been said. I unfortunately wasn't here for that meeting because I'm not usually one to not be vocal about what's going on.
Yes, that.
I think you expressed yourself very well. And I too, from that meeting, but also not from that meeting, our joint council meeting that we had, all the councils. You know, I sense that some members of other councils aren't necessarily happy with their policing services, but however, here in Middleton, this is a town. And residents pay a significant amount for policing. So this is not Spa Springs, this is not Victoriaville, it's not Lakeel, this is the town of Middleton. The RCMP signs right outside this town hall, there's police cars in the driveway. So we do have greater expectations of public safety and policing. And I agree about the joint, you know, police advisory board. That I'm not so sure how, please feel free to review the Police Act, but I'm not sure how the Department of Justice approved a joint police advisory board meeting when we're two separate municipal units.
Because they had to approve it.
The Administrative Justice did.
Yes, Councilor.
So
Yeah.
how do we approach this now? We obviously don't want to stay as a joint council. And I guess by the sounds of Deputy Mayor, we're gonna have to look into why they would approve it if it's not supposed to have happened. What direction by other council members do we take?
Work on the process of reversing it. I think in principle, you know, the thought was a good idea, and we thought that it would be different, but we're finding out that it's not.
Like, we just can't drop it, so what's the process? Does anybody know?
I think we'll have
I
to.
think we
yeah,
have to
my-
make a request.
Yeah.
And they may say no.
But if they approved it and shouldn't have approved it, then
I
really,
I have the police act here, and to me, it reads that it's allowed, but I mean, I haven't read the whole thing, it's 47 pages.
No,
But it was us that asked, for it, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so on what basis did we ask for?
we're not just Middleton.
well, I think it
'Cause-
made,
It was a joint. They both agreed that it should be combined as one. To stop.
Well, for the police officer not to have to go to.
Well,
We're trying to help out, but obviously it's not working for us.
Well, that wasn't why, so the reason it got requested was because we share Annapolis District RCMP.
Right.
With the County of Annapolis,
Mhm.
and we should try to coordinate with them to make sure that they're providing services consistently across both municipal units. That was the main reason, but I heard a counselor say that they thought that the RCMP asked us to create the joint board, and that is false.
No,
They did not ask us to do that, to make it easier on them to have less meetings. They did not request it. It was us, or us with the county.
yeah, it was us.
Yeah.
Yes,
because-
Counselor Smith.
And I don't want to. I mean, I wanna make sure that my concerns are properly understood. This is not, I didn't ask to put this on the agenda to say our policing services need improvement. That's a different discussion completely. I think this discussion is only about whether the police advisory board is meeting the needs of this council and the citizens of our
Right.
town. And I defy anybody to say that, as an example of that last meeting, that we were adequately or appropriately represented. And allowed the opportunities to present our observations. To that board, which only shows up here every
6
four,
months.
every 6 months, every 4 months. So we only get 3 opportunities a year. And it wasn't a professional opportunity for our citizenry that we encouraged to show up. So that, cause we told them they'd have a chance to speak. And it did not go well. I think our citizens deserve the opportunity to at least 3 or 4 times a year. Be able to get in front of the powers that be and say, this is what we like. This is what you need to watch out for, this is the things that we're seeing. We can't, as a council, we cannot seem to have direct influence with our policing services, which boggles my mind. And the Department of Justice seems to be a very tough nut to crack as far as how much we're paying and what influence we have on the services that we're paying for. To me, the Police Advisory Board is the only option to get a message across. And to hear our CAO say that we may not be able to get out of this joint police advisory board is incredibly disheartening, because I specifically asked at the time of when we approved it whether this was a forever deal, and was told that it's not. So I'm hoping we have recourse.
I just don't know. I'm saying that because I don't.
I
know.
understand, so I would ask for the suggestion given to me, that we ask staff to see what our options are. I'm not speaking for anybody else, but I'm getting a sense that we might wanna go in the direction of not being a participant in the Joint Police Advisory Board at its earliest dissolution. But I would say, can staff look into that and see if we have the option, what's the process, the timeline, what motions do we have to make, how soon can we make them, and go forward from there.
So do we need a motion tonight to just, to start that process?
No, but if you wanna direct staff to bring forward or report it, that like.
Somebody else has to say, I agree with Councilor Smith, but staff.
Second that, yeah.
Right,
I should be able to do that for the November 3rd committee, the whole meeting, and then if there's further questions or information that's required. You can't make motions at that, or I mean, you can't make decisions at that meeting anyways, but I can certainly present what I have found to date, and then. If there's more information that's required before the November council meeting, I'll have some time of 2 weeks to. Gather that and update there.
So, no, sorry, because I agree, but I guess when we had police advisory boards here, I mean, you know, we only had it 4 times a year, so, but we didn't have county involvement. And I'm wondering if is the problem the makeup or the joint council, or is the problem the way that in this case, that particular meeting was run and not allowing the people in the gallery in Middleton to speak
Eh.
for longer, just let me finish for a second, so, yeah, for longer than, you know, the time that was perceived to be, you know, the 2 minutes, because there, I mean, to me, that's also a separate, that's a different issue in terms of if we can't get out of the, if we can't get out of the joint police advisory board, then is the leadership of the head of that, is that the wrong direction that they should be going when this happens? Is it just not being run properly when it comes to the meeting itself, the structure of the meeting?
So I was at the meeting and right from the get-go, it was a lot of people prattling away, kind of wasting time, congratulating, doing what are really political statements about, you know, how much we support police and all this stuff like that, without getting down to the business of what the meeting was. When it was clear there was a lot of people that had issues in the gallery. And the chair and another member on the board really did get defensive about any, and it was, people weren't criticizing the RCMP in that. They were trying to bring forward issues, which we had been previously told we had to bring those forward at that meeting. We tried to bring them forward at, you know, different times, and we were told we can't do that. The place for that is that meeting. Chair specifically got argumentative about that. He said, we're not allowed to do that here, type thing. And it really was a sense that they were trying to shut down. That's probably not the right word for it, but they didn't really want to talk about it, type thing, you know, and that was our opportunity in town where we should have been able to talk about it. I mean, you know, like that was the whole tone of the meeting should have been different. It should have been, we've got concerned citizens here. Let's let them air their concerns and give the RCMP the information they need so they can make professional policing decisions on how to police issues in Middleton. And that wasn't the tone of that meeting at all. If that answers you at all, I don't know, you know.
Well, it kind of does, which again, at any meeting, then it doesn't matter if a citizen comes to a meeting in Middleton or goes to a meeting in Annapolis County, that they should be able to express what their concerns are. Again, in my opinion, but if that wasn't allowed, then I would say it's more of a function of who's running the meeting opposed to that there's a problem with being a joint police advisory board.
And to add to that, if I may. I think the Middleton citizenry that came appeared that day, and it wasn't just counselors that were in the gallery, there were a number of residents. They're not going to go all the way to Annapolis Royal for 11 o'clock on a Tuesday or Thursday, whenever it was. So that's a problem in and of itself that I mentioned in the very beginning of this whole process. That I wasn't gonna drive to Annapolis on a Thursday, let's put it that way, because I have a business to run, as others do. So we've limited ourselves to 3 opportunities for the board to come here and allow the citizens to have their piece. Which I think is also a fundamental problem of this joint advisory board setup.
If we went back to having our own independent boards, there's nothing to say we can't get together with the RCMP a couple of times a year, which would be a good idea to air joint concerns. Type thing, like, you know, it's not a bad idea to have two joint boards meet a couple of times a year with the RCMP, but then have our own independent, actually have our independent boards to deal with Middleton issues and give our own citizens a better opportunity to voice their concerns.
Councillor Fournier, I know you sit on the police board. What's your thoughts?
I was very uncomfortable in the last meeting. I'm not sure exactly what my reasons for being uncomfortable were, other than I have done my own reporting. Because I live in that community, I live across the street. and I had my own conversations with the staff sergeant about it. I think I've been, at least I hope I've been clear that I'm not comfortable on camera talking about a lot of the things that I've seen over there. And I've written 2 letters, and I have assurances from Staff Sergeant Marshall that he was going to be working on it and had a plan to work on it. So I felt that, I felt that I was representing what I saw myself and what the people are in my community and the 2 streets next to me were saying.
So do you feel that you are not being heard there, or do you feel that, like we're kind of taking down a little notch and that the Annapolis County is kind of taking over?
No, there have been discussions about where we park, but, I personally am a lot more comfortable with things written. And, I wrote 2 letters to, Staff Sergeant about what I saw. And, I know that there have been some discussions about, I mean, I've certainly talked about Rotary Park, and I talked about the library at Hub, so.
Well, yes, that's what happened.
So I think what the question that your worship is asking is, how do you feel about the joint council, not about what episodes have happened in Middleton, but about this joint council, like, do you agree with having a joint council, or do you agree that we should step back and take our own, like, that's what I think she's asking, because you sat on that council. You sat on that board.
I do not have any experience in the Middleton have. It's always, the one I went on was the joint hub, so I don't have an experience, so what it would be like otherwise.
Okay.
Who's the other, is it you, John, that's on?
Guys,
Yeah. So I sat on the P board here too. And I don't know. I wasn't very happy that day either, so. I don't know what our processes are, like, do we?
well, meeting wise, I agree with, Councilor Smith that, the 11 to 2, you're trying to get, public input is difficult at best. That's why a majority of,
Yeah, 11 to 12:45.
well, 12:45.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Adjourned.
So it's, like, so it's difficult to get public to come.
Yeah, because we had it at 6.
Yeah, and
No.
that being said,
Right.
the reason I asked the question was the meeting run properly, or do you feel that that is part of the problem, because then that's something else.
Right.
Having 3 meetings here or 4 meetings here, the frequency that we have meetings is now 6 times a year opposed to 4 because it's joint. Theoretically it should work, but it should work better because we're meeting with them more often and, as the representatives of the town, we should be there speaking up. And like I said, I wasn't at that last one, unfortunately, last minute business problems. And unfortunately, I won't be at the next one because I'll be away.
Oh,
But
it's just
I just wonder,
Like when they're in
if it-
Middleton, they
mean,
can
it's just
just like for
not
6
me.
o'clock like we used to.
It can be whenever you want it to be.
You know?
I was the one that asked if it could be during the day because
Yeah.
there's a lot of evening meetings there.
Yes,
It
I
just
know.
felt like 2 days a week, every week I was in evening meetings and
Right.
it's just rough. So I was the one that asked that,
Before the day.
but we can switch it back to evening.
And
And
it-
if the meetings, if we stayed with the joint PB, I'm just saying, you could change the time back, request to change the time back to an evening. When they're in Annapolis Rural, there's no reason why staff can't open this office and join via Zoom and have the public in here. I mean, there's ways around it if that is what the stem of the issues are, but
Right.
Just, I don't think that's just. the
I
only
think it
issue. I
runs
think
deeper
it's
than
your
that, to
chair.
be honest. That's one of them,
Right.
issue. And I had a citizen complain about the time of meeting myself. But I think it runs deeper than that. I think I don't know if the structure, we're two different communities that have fundamentally different policing models, even though we share the same police force. County policing and rural town policing are very different models, and I didn't see that reflected in the board. I didn't see that reflected in the meeting, that there was a fundamental understanding of that kind of thing, and whether that was coming from the chair or kind of a county dominance of that, or what, I have no idea, but I certainly didn't get the idea that they were looking at Middleton as something that has unique policing needs. And I think, yeah, I'll leave it at that.
And Emery,
Yes.
I'm wondering, is it because it's the chair that is not perform, like, I didn't go to this meeting. I used to sit on the other council when it was just town council.
Yeah.
I didn't go to this meeting as I was working, as most of the council does, but is it the chair that's not running the meeting properly, and did that chair not get voted in by its board?
I would assume they did. I think there were a lot of things that went wrong.
Yes, the chair got voted in by the members of the board. Yeah, he had to have, obviously, a majority.
Correct.
Well, I think we've beat this. And we've talked about it long enough, so basically, I guess we're asking you to check it out, see if it's possible.
Yep.
And then bring us something back in November. I think you kind of hear what everybody's saying, so.
Can I
Oh.
ask a question?
Sure.
If indeed we find out that, what the deputy mayor brought forward, that we should not use joint council, then what do we do? But if it's all right for it to do, should this council address with that joint committee what Councillor Smith, it was that, and Councillor Fowler?
We did get an email from Niles. I don't know when that was. And I think he got the gist, and I think I sent it off to you. And I think he kind of got the feeling that we were not happy. The people in Middleton were not happy. And I forget what he said,
He phoned Sergeant Maxwell, had a conversation with him about Rotary Park.
oh, okay,
Called me to let me know that he had the phone call and that he was gonna follow up via email, and I think I forwarded it around to
Okay.
everybody.
okay. So I think he sort of got the message, but you know, but really
There's just something fundamentally sticks in my craw with that, though, that we've got representation from outside our own community speaking to the police about the issues within our own community. That, I don't like it. I think we are best prepared to speak on behalf of our citizens that we hear from almost, certainly weekly, almost daily, about the shenanigans that are going on within the 5 square kilometers of Middleton.
I know.
And that we should be able to have direct access to our service provider to fix the problems. And not have, and this is not disrespect to any county councillor, but it just does not look good, in my opinion, that we have to look at our residents and say, well, the chair from, I'm sorry, Lakeel or wherever he's from, is dealing with that on our behalf. That's not what we campaigned on, that's not what we told them that we were going to work on, and I don't think that's the proper way that we should be handling our $1.4 million policing budget on behalf of our citizens.
Okay. Yes.
I'm gonna end with some legislation.
Okay.
So,
Bring the facts in. then-
well, here we go, but it's all due to interpretation, so I deal with many, on my day-to-day basis of what I do, I deal with many levels of government. So, and I've learned that policies and procedures and acts are due to the interpretation of the person that's reading. Okay. So, in the police act, on page 29, section 57, subsection 5, it says establishment and composition of police advisory board. So I'm just gonna start with this. A municipality receiving policing services in whole or in part from the Royal Canadian Mounted Police or the provincial police shall establish police advisory board. Check, we're very well aware of that. So I skipped down to, it's section 57, subsection 5. So it says where two or more municipalities have entered into an agreement pursuant to section 84, key is pursuant to section 84, to be policed by the Royal Canadian Mounted Police or the provincial police, unless provided otherwise in the agreement, the advisory board must consist of, which is what it's currently comprised of. So if we skip down, so that sounds fine. So, and this is just due to my interpretation. So on page 37 of the Police Act, section 84, and section 85, as I scroll down here. Bear with me, my thumb only goes so fast. So it says amalgamation of police departments, that's a broad term. So it says amalgamation agreement, so it's page 37, section 84. Notwithstanding any enactment, two or more municipalities having police departments, whether provincial or RCMP, I would say, may enter into an agreement to be policed by a single police department, but the agreement shall not take effect until it's approved by the minister. So we skip down to the approval section, which is section 85, subsection 1, where two or more municipalities are amalgamated. The amalgamation of the police department shall not take effect until the organization of the amalgamated police department has been approved by the minister. That's what I read. So it's due to interpretation. So it doesn't say municipal policing, it doesn't say RCMP, it talks about amalgamation of police departments. We have a police department. The caveat is just so happens it happens to be the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. So that's my interpretation from the Police Act. I could be completely wrong. If that's not how it was intended, the clarity of the act should be cleaned up, but yes, so on the surface from what we've done, it looks great until you get to section 84 and 85. And 85.1 says where two or more municipalities are amalgamated. So I may be missing the mark on that, but I'm just citing legislation.
Yeah, so section 5A, or 5, which is page 29 as well.
Yep.
Says notwithstanding subsection 1, where two or more municipalities have common issues respecting policing in their municipalities and are policed by the RCMP, they may, with the minister's approval, establish a joint advisory board by entering into an agreement to do so, which we did via terms of reference.
Correct.
So that is what I read that
Right.
enables us to do that.
If you go down to, on that same page, down to point 5, is what I just read. But then it makes reference to notwithstanding section 84, and if you hop down to section 84 on page 84. So yes, so in one place it says one thing, but notwithstanding section 84. So if you hop down to 84 on page 37 of the Police Act.
I don't think we're gonna solve this tonight.
No, we're not gonna
We'll
solve
have to
I
ask.
think, but I mean, it's a Department of Justice thing.
Okay. All right, like, so we've directed them to
Thank you.
have something for November 3rd.
I just, since I made reference to the Police Act, I just
Yes.
wanted to do those sections.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay. Moving down to the reports, section 7. And they're all there. I hope you read them. And do you have any questions or concerns?
Under the
Deputy
joint-
Mayor.
I do, under the Joint Police Advisory Board minutes,
Okay.
the one citizen that spoke, his name is Mr. Ilsley. I don't think it's reflecting as Ilsley, I think it's reflecting as another name, I can't remember what it is.
Oh,
His name,
Is that one Reese or Free?
yes, no, look at that one. Just one second. Mr. Hillsley. So we had Dave Smith inquired, Mr. Priest, and it has Mr. Hillsley, but it was actually Mr. Ilsley.
Oh, Ilsley.
Hillsley.
Moving on.
not Hillsley.
But that, I'm not on that board, but I just happened to see that in our agenda package.
Okay. Any other?
Just on, again, and one of the, I don't know whether it was the minutes from the last meeting or committee, the whole meeting or the special agenda meeting. Just wanted noted that I had declared a conflict of interest in regards to the vote on the fire truck.
I think that.
No, it wasn't.
In which set of minutes?
It was in this package somewhere.
That would have been committee of a whole draft
Yeah.
minutes that was sent
And
in
now we'll
last
get
week.
those
or
next
something.
week.
No, I thought it was in this package, but maybe I'm wrong.
We
but-
only talked about it 2 weeks ago.
No, I thought there was something with reference to the fire truck vote in here somewhere. Anyway, I'll take a run through, but I was sure it was in this package somewhere.
Maybe because we had the special meeting after it might have been.
Yeah, something or other. There was something, anyway, one of the draft meetings there, it mentioned, I just wanted to add that, I don't know if it's not.
Yeah, because I'm looking at the committee of the whole ones and it says Council Archibald declared a conflict of interest and left the council table.
Yeah, and then there, but
Oh,
there's,
he declared a conflict of debt when we went into special council.
Into special council,
And
okay.
it's not reflect on behalf of the.
Yeah.
whole town,
Okay.
So we'll have to.
Okay.
But you guys already accepted them.
That's when you should have said.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. When we're at the minute section, we need to note these things.
sure.
The errors or admissions part that
Yeah,
our worship says,
yeah.
that's when you need to put that.
Anything
Well, that-
else, folks?
No.
All right. Correspondence, October 7th, letter from Annapolis Valley Regional Library. Refunding.
I don't have anything to present on it. I
No.
don't speak to the letters.
Oh,
We
okay.
just attach them. I mean, if there's questions that council has that. Yeah, they want us to go back and.
Okay.
But just,
And October 9th, the letter from Attorney General and Minister of Justice Becky Broom. Oh, excuse me. Reading NSFM conference. And I guess they're gonna have a presentation there. And I hope everybody noticed I sent out the minutes from the Valley Waste meeting.
Yes.
Goody, so let's talk about that.
One of the positive things from the Minister of Justice was the fact that she acknowledged we haven't used some happening.
Yes. Appreciate it.
okay.
With question
I'm
mark,
gonna live. Pardon me?
always just making a comment about the minister's meeting, hopefully there'll be a time for questions and just stick around for.
Oh, that's all. All right. Anything by members? Councilman.
Only that it's a fairly large package, and again, that's my own little bugbear. I'd really like to have as much advanced stuff as possible. 5 o'clock on a Friday for a 160-page package, some of it fairly technical. For
It was out by
It
10
was out by first thing Friday morning.
morning.
but whenever you can get to it, but my point being, basically, it's really just not enough time to process that stuff.
Wow.
Well, half the items were from committee of the whole.
Yeah.
Right, so I do try to get stuff out, but Sarah and I were both on vacation last week, so. Unfortunately.
It's an old bugbear of mine, and it's going to
Thank
continue to
you.
be that, so.
Wow. Constable Archibald. Okay, well, we did it.
You've been promoted.
You know,
You get to go a second on it.
Yeah, Council Bartlett.
well, I do have something and it is gonna be about the RCMP, but
Um,
more of a positive note. I don't know if it was because of comments and concerns that were brought up during the last meeting that maybe did finally trickle down, but I have noticed a larger police presence around town, and I'll give a couple of examples. I mean, I walk my dog every night at 9:30, 10 o'clock. I've seen them have a car stop down the road over here. I was out in front of the pub the other night because we had an event going on. No fewer than 3 times that they drive by, and they headed down towards Rotary Park when they were driving down as well. So I have seen them a little more. Coincidence, or is this norm? Obviously, we'll have to wait and see. I will point out that Annapolis Ground Search and Rescue just had their parking lot tore up too, but they have a really nice video
Not here.
coverage What?
Not the Middleton. No.
Hmm.
It was Capital.
Tenfold,
Yeah.
but yeah, they had nice video coverage of a white truck.
Yeah.
Which is something we thought was probably a white truck earlier, but it was just, it's the same kind of. I guess my point is, it's the same kind of thing that was happening in our park. It freshly gravelled, someone drove in, tore it all up. They got great video. So hopefully, it's just not happening here. But that's about all I have.
Thank you. Counselor Smith.
So I just wanna relay another incident. Police related, but maybe a little bit positive. Week ago Friday night. As we were driving back from an evening supper, I said, let's swing by Rotary Park and see if there's anything going on. It was only 7:15. I certainly did not expect any shenanigans to be happening 7:15. So we pulled in and there's 10 cars, and at least 15 kids, people. All standing around, alcoholic drinks in their hands. Couple of them were well inebriated. My partner got out of the car before I even had it fully stopped and started interviewing a few of them. Recorded a number of faces and a number of license plates numbers. Took them tremendous amount of verbal abuse doing so. Police were called. Police arrived within 15 minutes. These kids did become aware that the police were on their way, so at least get out. They were gone by the time the police did arrive, but we were able to give a number of pictures and of facial pictures and some car identifications to the police. Now, I was talking to the 911 people and they hung up on me at some point. I wasn't being rude, but whatever. Some of the kids were wearing high school jackets, whether they were currently in high school or formerly in high school, I can't say. We know some names. But it brought up the concept, these kids, some of them were still in school. There's no question about it, they were that young. And it brought up the question of whether we should be pursuing banning these kids from all town property. And the bigger repercussions will that be, and I'm saying this for the benefit of the general public, is that the arena is a town property. And if they're playing on the high school hockey team, for example, and they get banned from the arena, they are gonna lose something important. So maybe that's an avenue that we need to pursue to get through to these kids that we're not having. We're not putting up with this thing. I mean, I'm getting to the point where I'm calling them almost weekly. And I don't wanna be that person, but they said, call when you see something. Well, if you look, you're gonna see something every single day. I was in last Wednesday afternoon, we were over at Rotary Park. 5 o'clock. Little black car comes roaring in, does a big donut around the parking lot and drives right back out before I could even see who it was or get a license plate number, and they were long gone. There's no point in calling anybody at that point. That happened at noontime a few weeks ago, as reported to me by another citizen of town. Still happen. And if we can hit these kids in an area that maybe it's a little more impactful to them, like taking away their opportunities to participate in sporting events, maybe we get through. That's all I have.
Thank you. Councilor Knapp.
Nothing.
Councilor Forney.
Well, I want to make a couple of comments about RCMP and, couple of things. It was, so I was talking with someone about the RCMP issues, what to call them, and, a blue car that I hadn't seen before went and did some wheelies and came back. And I was standing there and I yelled at her, what are you doing? And she said, oh, well, what do you mean? And I said, well, no, I talked to her about what it is. She said she came from Bridgetown. And she came from Bridgetown because she was told, come to Rotary Park. And you can do that at Rotary Park. And I said, well, that's not true. Can't do that. She said, well, I hope that you're not gonna do anything. And I went, what do you mean? I hope I'm not gonna do anything. She says, well, I won't come back. I won't come back. I said, okay. And I was at the dollar store up at Greenwood, the dollar store. And there were two kids in the next aisle talking about going to Middleton, Rotary Park. That's where you get over. They have gravel there. It's really nice. I don't know if I said, what are you talking about? Just say something about going to Middleton. Yeah, well, did you hear? You go to Middleton. So it's a big problem. It's a huge problem. I've noticed police presence, specifically Saturday at 3:00. They were at Rotary. Today they were there at 8:00 this morning and 2:00. And they were at 4:00. There was some on Marshall. So. Hopefully good. But we've got a bigger problem.
Oh, yeah.
I think, people are actually coming here without express papers, which is interesting.
Right, exactly, wow.
Madam Mayor, if sorry, I wanted to mention this before Deputy Mayor Marshall did. The light right across from, the Chinese restaurant, the street light,
Main Street.
the street light, yeah, it's out.
Oh, no.
So-
September 15th.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that I brought that.
Okay, Deputy Mayor, do you have something to say?
Well, I do.
Oh, okay.
Thank you. I just, reference the streetlights, yes, reference the crosswalk lights, they're still on both south ends of the crosswalk light at Main and King and Main and Gate. But I too want to just, add on to a positive note about the RCMP. I too, my kids have recognized that Dad goes out for a little drive at nighttime, and I've expressed that to the CAO and the mayor. So one evening, weekday, I just went out and I went around by the Rotary Park, and it was, well, it's now getting darker, so say 8:00-ish. It was a weeknight, and there was about 6 or 7 cars there, and people, I just drove in through the elementary school. Then I went over by the library, and there was 2 or 3 cars there with some folks, so I just proactively called in, as we've been asked to, and I just simply said, they asked me if I saw anything illegal, any alcohol or anything like that. I said, no, just a bunch of folks that are congregating. And I said, there's nothing illegal that I see there, but however, we had concerns. I said, we've been encouraged to call in, so I thought maybe if there's a member in the area, just do a simple patrol that will just set the tone. And it wasn't 10 minutes later, 2 cars came through town and circulated through. So anyway, I just wanted to mention that it just sets the tone. On the flip side of that, I've also been told is, you know, you don't want to see police cars in your community because that indicates that you have a problem. So I argue that a little bit, and but I think a police presence, knowing that they're somewhere, sets the tone. So that's all I wanted to say. But I do encourage everyone that may be listening to please you call in if you happen to see something. If you don't want to call 911, you can dial 902-825-2000. It's a non-emergency line, but I think it's important that these calls get logged. And hopefully, to reiterate what the other councilors have said, you know, hopefully it becomes a deterrent. And that's all I have, Your Worship.
Thank you. And I have a police story too. Last night, my brother was standing out on his front step watching the dog, and the police car came zooming up and with his lights on, and he says to my brother, "Do you hear a woman screaming?" And my brother goes, "No." He said, "How long have you been out here?" And he said, "Maybe 10 minutes. I don't know, like," and he said, "Okay." And he just turned right around and squealed out again and went down the road, like lights flashing. And so I don't know if somebody called or what. But anyway, I will agree with everybody here tonight that I have seen more of them than I have in a very, very, very long time. So in saying that, is there any further business to be brought? Okay, so, I'm going to, motion for the end of our meeting. And because we're moving into camera.
I so move.
Oh, are you?
Oh, yeah, okay, well, I thought we went in. And then that's.
Oh, we have to turn off.
Oh, right, I'll press that one. Okay. That concludes our live streaming of today's meeting. Our next meeting will be committee of the whole meeting on Monday, November 3rd, 2025. The agenda package will be posted on the town's website on Friday, October 31st. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or ideas that we'd like addressed during the Anything by Citizen part of the agenda, please submit them to ea@town.middleton.ns.ca by noon on Monday, November 3rd. Thank you for watching.